This is a tutorial on the Accounts Receivable Adjustments and Write-Off Entry screen AR3500. This screen is used to adjust or write off invoices, credit notes, or unapplied cash records. You're going to make changes to the outstanding amount based upon the payment amount and discount amount that you entered in on this screen. A report AR3600 exists that will keep an audit of what has taken place in this screen. The general ledger accounts that get hit during your transactions are the AR control account and the write-off adjustment account that's found in the currency maintenance screen GB0700. If you find that you'd rather write it off to an account that's not the adjustment write-off account, then you should be using the ARGL transfer program instead. Currently, we're going to make an adjustment to an invoice that's already been set up. The transaction date can be left the way it is or changed to a date that is in an open AR and GL period. You can query upon the customer invoice, invoice type, or a combination of those. We're going to enter our invoice number here and execute query. And as we can see, this is an invoice with the original amount of $1,000, an outstanding amount of $960. There's already been some activity on this, and we can see this in the details section here. For example, a payment is made of $10 against check number 401. And there's also been some crediting done on this particular invoice from unapplied cash record number 18 to give us an outstanding amount of $960. So what we do now is we come down to the payment amount field. We may want to put in a $55 payment amount with a $5 discount. And at this point we can select from our list of values whether this is going to be a write-off or an adjustment. In this case we're going to make an adjustment. Instead of clicking with our mouse on the transaction type, we could have just keyed in the first letter of the adjustment or write-off, so an A or a W. That feature exists in any pull-down list in the application. And now we can enter an explanation. Now we can save this record. And we're going to requery at this point to see the effect on the invoice. Now we can see here that we've made an adjustment from our $960 outstanding amount. We're down to $900 now, and it's reflected as an adjustment with the payment amount of $55, discount of $5. Now perhaps we made an error and we wish to bring the outstanding amount up. We could go into the payment amount field, and in this case we put in a negative amount. Select our payment type and an explanation. And save the record. And we'll query upon this again. And we can see our outstanding amount has gone up to $970, and this has been an adjustment. There's really not much difference between selecting transaction type, adjustment, or write-off. It's just a matter of how the payment record will be reflected. The general ledger will reflect in the same way whether it's an adjustment or a write-off. Often users of the software will use write-off when they're taking an invoice amount and taking the entire amount and writing it off, bringing the outstanding amount to a zero. But it's up to you as to how you want to use the transaction type. We're going to quickly go into the general ledger journal entry screen, and we're going to query upon the journal that was created from this. So we'll fast track into that program. And we'll query upon journal AR35. We have a number of transactions in here today, so we're going to go right to the last transaction, which will be the one that we just did. Okay, now we can see from this transaction that our original transaction was to reduce it by $60, so our accounts receivable got debited by $60, and our write-off and adjustment got debited by the $60. Next, we came in and increased the amount, so here we have a debit to our accounts receivable account, and our write-off and adjustments account got credited for $70. If I double click here on the explanation, I just want to show you that the explanation in our GL has been appended with the explanation that we entered in on the screen. I'm going to exit this screen now. And finally, we're just quickly going to do the same type of a transaction for a credit note. We're going to exit the screen and come immediately back into it so that we'll have a different journal numbers. And now we're going to query upon a credit note. I have credit note number 19 ready for adjustment. It's a $214 credit note and $214.10, and perhaps we're going to write off this entire credit note. So at the payment amount field, we'd enter $214.10. I'm going to select write off at this point and put in an explanation. And save the record. Now we'll requery the record. Now we can see that we have a write-off here. The outstanding amount is 0. Once again, we're going to quickly go into the GL journal entry and query upon the journal that was created. Now we can see from this document number that we're on the correct journal. We can see here our accounts receivable account got credited for the $214.10, and our write-off and adjustment account at this point got credited. That concludes the tutorial on the write-off and adjustments.